it's Tamara. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back. Today we're going to be talking about the 10 signs of pathology that we may notice within our families. And when I'm referring to pathology, I'm referring to something that is pervasive and chronic and unstable, something that is unhealthy, and something that will bring us more harm than good. And so I want to point out a couple of symptoms and behaviors that are toxic and poisoning, and that most likely is a sign that a family member has a severe mental health condition. So thank you so much for coming back to my channel. For those who are subscribed, and for those who are new to the channel, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button right over here so that you can stick with us on this channel and continue to learn and grow. The community grows every single day, hour by hour, and I love to see it grow. I love your comments, love your questions. Thank you so much for your continued support for all my YouTube subscribers right now. I couldn't grow this channel without you, so I thank you so much for that. And I also thank you for your participation. I can't move this YouTube channel forward and provide community support unless you guys continue to support it. So you guys are really helping more than you think. So let's just go ahead and jump into this video. Let me quickly go over the benefits. The benefits for you today is that I'm going to point out a couple of signs of severe mental illness within your family. Okay? Really, I'm going to go down some symptoms, and I want to just point out a couple of things that I have listed on my notes here. And I encourage you to ask me questions in the comment section below. Share your experiences as well, because I'm sure that you'll be able to relate to this, okay? So the first sign of pathology in an individual who may be struggling with a mental illness is distorted reality or an altered reality. A distorted or altered reality really is almost like a psychosis, right? It's delusional in a sense. It's a perception of life. It's a perception of emotions. It's a perception of feelings, behaviors, things in life that don't connect and they don't make sense to those of us who are healthy minded, or those of us who have a stable and a balanced perception of life. A altered reality or distorted reality most likely is the number one sign that an individual has a very unstable way of viewing life, right? They have idiosyncratic behaviors and thoughts. They're really kind of odd in how they view their perception, how they view reality, how they perceive, other people within their world. And so a distorted or altered reality can really lead to awkward behavior, odd behavior, psychotic behavior, and really a loss of social connection and family connection, because nobody wants to be in the environment of somebody who's distorted in their perception of things, okay? So that's sign number one of potential severe mental illness. Sign number two is delusions. And I'm going to post a video right up here where I talk about delusions. Delusions are false beliefs that are strongly held to be true despite evidence to the contrary. The individual has evidence that their beliefs are false, but they continue to believe them anyway. If there's facts staring at them right on the wall, they're going to continue to believe their delusion, okay? Individuals who hold these strong delusional beliefs that have no connection to reality most likely has a mental health concern, okay? Untreated mental illness can be exacerbated by stress, job loss, marital challenges, poor parent-child relationships, trauma, and that can lead to problems as well, and it can lead to further mental health issues, okay? And when I'm talking about, I want to mention this as well, when I'm talking about severe mental illness, I'm talking about schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or any other mental health condition that far removes the individual from reality. That's what I mean by severe mental illness. Something that is not really responsive to treatment. It requires a lot of counseling, a lot of therapy, a lot of, connecting with a treatment team of people who can help them, function in society. Okay, so that's what I mean by severe mental illness. The next one is intermittent threats, anger, or psychosis. And what I mean by that is an individual who can be kind of quote unquote normal or steady for a long period of time, and then they drop, right? They fall off, they get delusional, they get psychotic, they get confused, they get angry, they get, a lot of rage builds up within them. And so intermittent symptoms where an individual is pretty baseline and pretty balanced for a long period of time, and then whoop, they change. That's a problem because a lot of people who struggle with psychotic behavior go in and out of consciousness, or go in and out of reality, if you will. If it's an untreated diagnosis of schizophrenia, if it's an untreated psychosis, they can be very in reality for a little bit of time, and they can go out, especially if they're untreated, or if they're on drugs, or if the medication is not working. They go in and out of reality, in and out of consciousness, okay? And that's a problem. The next is character pathology. So if there's a personality disorder along with a mental illness, that's a problem. Somebody that has a severe mental illness that cannot function, that's a problem. They're not functional, they're not healthy, they're not balanced. Let's add into that mix a personality disorder that cannot be counseled. It cannot be medicated. That's a problem. Have those two things together and you've got an explosion, because the individual is already sick, they're already unhealthy, and then they've got a personality disorder. Maybe they're a sociopath, or maybe they're a narcissist. That makes it 10 times worse, okay? The next is substance abuse. An individual with a severe mental illness like schizophrenia or untreated bipolar disorder who also is abusing drugs can really confuse things. A substance disorder can also develop where the individual is so hooked on alcohol and drugs that they can't live without it. They've built up a tolerance, so they need more and more of that drug to function, but they're also affecting their mental illness that's not being treated, or it's poorly treated. And when you mix substance abuse with a psychotic disorder or a bipolar disorder or a schizophrenia diagnosis, that's an explosion. That's a real big problem. So the next symptom or the next sign of a severe mental illness or a pathology is untreated or unresolved trauma. When you have an individual who has not gotten counseling that is trauma informed for a post-traumatic stress diagnosis, for an acute stress diagnosis, for any kind of traumatic brain injury, and you mix that with a severe mental illness or any kind of mental health condition that's not being treated or that's poorly treated, kaboom, you have another explosion. Mental illness or a mental health condition needs to be treated first with therapy, medication, both or either or, and then trauma treatment needs to also happen at the same time, because if not, you're going to mix mental illness with a trauma and the individual is not going to heal. They may do better in their mental health, right? They may not have so many episodes of mania or depression or suicidal thoughts, but then the minute that trauma begins to peek back through and begins to affect them, cause flashbacks, cause nightmares, or some kind of avoidance behaviors, then the individual's mental health is going to slide back to unbalanced or imbalanced or unhealthy, and that's not what we want. The next is distorted self-image. An individual who has a mental health condition or a psychological pathology can also begin to believe that they are physically ugly, even though you may be looking at a person who's highly attractive. What they see in the mirror is unattractive characteristics or unattractive physical traits, or physical appearance, I should say. They also may believe that they're a different gender, and it doesn't have to signal a gender identity disorder or any kind of transgender criteria. Individuals who are struggling with self-image and who also have a mental health condition, that can be a really ugly mix as well, because the moment they see themselves as something that they're really not, they're going to get depressed, they're going to get anxious. The next is isolation and withdrawal. That's another challenge, and that's something that we need to be aware of. The moment someone begins to isolate and withdraw, that's the moment they are getting more ill. Thank you so much for being with me in this video today, guys. I encourage you to give it a thumbs up if it was helpful. We're going to continue these conversations. Bye-bye.